Hello.
Welcome to your morning cup
With iBenz Academy, I'm Ash.
and I'm Kara.
And we're Kash.
We're Kash. Hi everybody.
So this week we're looking at what we've been up to.
Yes.
And expanding our chi.
Yes.
Because that's been a lot of the focus over the last several weeks, right?
Yep. And for folks in the Northern Hemisphere, it's summertime. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of chi.
Yes.
everywhere.
Lots of sunshine and long hours in the day. So time to do, which means we need to have the ability to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Gaia's pretty much exploding everywhere.
Yes.
Lots of plants and flora just growing, overgrown. Well, not overgrown, but everywhere. Mm-hmm. Lots of chi. So we wanted to spend some time talking about expanding our chi. First, what is chi? Why should we do it? You know, why put energy and focus and attention there? So real quickly, what is chi?
Well, our chi, that's such a big question.
Not to be
Kara.
philosophical.
I just tapped into a lot of information. Yeah, so we're not talking I think ancient traditions, let's say Asian traditions, might be chi specifically. It's more like your life force, right? Your energy, or your prana. There's so many other names that it comes with. But what we're talking about really specifically here is our ability to do.
Yeah.
It's our power.
Yeah. When we mentioned chi in the iBenz method, it pretty much means our ability to do. And there's a lot of ways and forms that chi can come in. Mm-hmm. It could be literally your energy. It could be money. It could be your focus of attention. There's a lot of ways in which power and chi can manifest.
Yes.
So very simple. Chi is the ability to do.
Yes, in this context.
Yes.
Yeah.
in this context.
Yeah. And so we've been looking at expanding our ability to do. And it's interesting too, because this week in particular, we're both on vacation.
Yay.
From work, which is really funny because we didn't plan it, but we just both happened to be on vacation this week. So actually, in a lot of ways, I feel like this week has been a little bit more of an inhale week where it's restful, sleeping in, watching movies, doing those things that are more relaxing and not so much of an exhale of doing. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting just having that week of rest and renewal during this time where we're also really focusing on expanding our chi and our ability to do. Yeah,
that feels directly related because it's not just about spending chi, right?
Yes.
And doing it. It's about gathering it and growing it too. And it's part of that circuit. Inhale, outhale, or even just connecting the circuit so it flows really well.
Right.
So part of that is sleeping.
Yes.
Or just relaxing or doing other things outside of the day-to-day, quote-unquote, normal routine.
Sure. Yeah. There's even been, in my experience, there's even firewalls that I've detected and processed in this last week too. We're doing the firewalls exercise around limiting my chi and my ability to do, right? Because, who knows where, when, and how, and why they were put in at some point, right? There was an agreement I had to have firewalls to limit my chi, but now putting time and attention into expanding the ability to do has brought that to light. Mm. So one of the ways that we've been doing that is there's a collective within the IMW alumni that came together and was specifically focusing on that exponential chi. And from a perspective of what would be exponential and an expression of that in this planet, right? Stepping outside of millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, and I don't even know what comes after that, on this planet and the systems that we have, there's that chi expressed through money, right?
Yeah, and that's one way in which we've been looking at expanding our chi is the very practical side of money, wealth lines, and income.
Yes.
And there's this great class that the one of the IMW alumni groups have been focusing on, which is clearing your wealth lines. And highly recommend doing this class if you haven't done it.
Yes.
But there's a very particular exercise in this class that we as a group have been doing every day for 21 days. Some of us more than others. I'm a little behind my homework. But point is we're doing it as a group. And this exercise is super powerful. And that in of itself is like such a game changer. Mm-hmm. Like doing it as a group and having accountability buddies and looking at the topics together. It's even that feels powerful.
Yeah.
And an expansion of chi.
Right. Well, it's funny. Let's talk about that a little bit more because this class is clearing wealth lines, mm-hmm. right? And this is also, by the way, if you don't know, now you know, it's month of manifestation.
Yay. July and August are usually focuses of manifestation on Walk With Me Now.
Yes. So traditionally, for us at least, it's a focus on this, or part of the focus. But anyway, the Clearing Wealth Lines course, I've done it so many times, and it's funny because I look back at it, and the first probably 2 or 3 times I did it, I was driving. And I was like, I don't have any time. It's the only time I can do it is like I'm driving to town. I got an hour and a half drive. Perfect. And it was actually, I mean, I don't recommend this, by the way, because you should focus on the road. But no, but like there was things I couldn't do because I was driving, obviously. And there's some work that you need to do and write some things out. But I was kind of more just thinking about it and getting ideas and seeing things and being aware, but not like writing anything. And then there's like an energy, like an exercise or meditation that is like, actually like at the time, I just kind of like tapped into, but it was almost like I just was like skimming the surface. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what I was missing, or I didn't know what I was like, that I wasn't going below the surface of it because I was driving. So like, of course, if you're doing anything like that, you're focused on something else. So your attention is split. You're not really giving it your full awareness. So it's interesting, right? And then now through this group, or through the Instant Manifestation Workshop 1, I had to do the course again because it was a part of the prerequisites for the workshop. And then 2, now working with this group, it's like doing these exercises to a whole other degree on like a daily basis. And there's so much more to it. It's like now I've really dove deep into that. And I realized, like, at least in my experience of it, we're tapping into an unlimited power. That's what we're tapping into. Like it's an ability to have unlimited power. And if that feels triggering, if there's anything, write it down because that's a good key right there already. And then do the Clearing Wealth Lines course because you're going to then find the tools and resources to be able to process that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's such an incredible class. And as always with iBenz method classes, listening to it when you're driving is one thing, but like sitting down, giving it the attention it deserves, that you deserve, and really doing it, taking out pen and paper, writing it down, doing all the exercises, it's so powerful and transformative. And that's actually something I've been looking at this past week, especially on quote unquote vacation, is looking at all of the wealth lines that I have, both coming in and going out, and then thinking about, what are ways that I can expand them? What are new ones? Ooh, I got to clear stuff around there. And it's interesting how even just becoming aware of what your chi is or where it's going or how it's coming can be so empowering in and of itself.
Yeah.
And then doing it together as a group takes it to a whole nother level, which is amazing.
Well, and I gotta say too, like in this class, and I mean this has come up before, but in particular right now because this has been my focus is on clearing wealth lines. And in this class, like the genius that Inelia Benz has in teaching, like this is gonna be like a super fan student like moment, but like it's incredible because I've, again, listened to it and I'm like, oh, this is great. Okay, awesome information. And then once you start to really dive into it, you start to actually understand, like, wait, like A, B, C, D, it's not just referenced, it's all like interwoven and there's a reason. And at the end, there's a reason why in the structure of the class that like you're doing this exercise. And so that is like incredible, right? in itself, just like the journey that you go through. And the funny part, and I don't know why it's ever surprising because it happens all the time, but like doing the class, you know, there's so many layers, like I was saying, that like it's like, okay, top of the water, now you're like maybe like a foot in, now you're like 3 feet deep, now you're 5 feet deep, now you're like you're touching ground on the bottom, and you're like, holy smokes, there's like a whole other world here, you know. And I'm sure there's even things that I haven't tuned into yet, but doing it as a group really has expanded my ability to receive that information and to hear that information, and then to now bring that into my reality and experience of this world that we're having right now. So it's pretty cool just how, I guess I say it for everybody, for other students of the iBenz method. It's like, if you've done a class and you're like, yeah, I did it, you know, and we have lists, we did mentoring. You have to do all the classes to be able to do mentoring. But, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I did that. And then really, actually, if you go back and do it again, it's not the way of learning like how we were taught in school. You know, in school it was like, okay, did you do algebra 1? Did you do algebra 2? Okay, you did it, you're done, move on. You know, you go to the next thing, the next thing. It's not a linear process of learning. It's literally, it's like peeling away layers of the onion, and the layers are there at different times. It's right to look at, and then you can go really deep and dive into it, and you can do the class over and over again and read the book and pair things up and do it with others and have book clubs or study groups, and you just have such a different experience of it rather than I did it, check, you know. That's how I started in all this. I did it, check, move on, next one, did it, check, move on. And then when I started redoing things, I was like, oh wait, there's a lot of nuggets here. There's a lot of gems and gold, of information. Yeah, right.
It's so true. The value of the classes is just so incredible, because every time you do it, you get something new from it. Like, I looked at my list. You make a list of your wealth lines in the class, and I did it, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, something like that. And I pulled it up, and I was like, oh, I'm very curious to see what was it then compared to now. And I looked at some of the items, and I was like, wow, those were like really big things, like either big trigger things that I had to process or deal with, like, let's say debt, or, you know, resistances, or, you know, even just expansions, goals, right? Made those lists, and then 3 years later, looked at my new list, looked back, and I was like, wow, I've like made really good progress. Like, this is amazing. Right. And it's the same tool. It's the same exercise. But like you said, it's peeling off those layers and going deeper into the material and raising our frequency each time. Yeah. And that's why it just gets better and better each time too. And it's such a great validation. Like, this is why, you know, you should write your stuff down and date it, because you can go back and see how far you've come. And that's just such an amazing win.
It is. Oh my gosh. I remember with mentoring, I did 2 rounds of mentoring with Inelia. And in the second round, I had to re-listen to all of the mentoring sessions again before it was complete. And I was dragging my feet because, well, you know, there was a lot of change that had happened, and you know, there was so many like cringe moments of listening to like the earlier mentoring sessions and being like, oh my god, that's what I was saying, and that's what I was doing, what was going on? But you know, that was ego stuff, right? But ultimately though, like the value in that is like being able to go back, like you said, and you can hear and or see or read the progress and the work that we've done and how it actually has evolved and it actually has changed.
Yep. Because like you said earlier, what we're doing is we're tapping into our true self, which is essentially unlimited power.
Right.
Like, that is our natural expression as high frequency beings. And all the layers and filters and chicken scratches and programs and limitations are all there. 1, to have certain experiences, but 2, becoming aware of like, what do we want to consciously experience?
Yeah.
And every time we do these classes, or we do the tools, or we even expand our awareness, you know, it can change. We can make different choices consciously.
Yes.
And for me, one thing that just keeps coming up over and over around the expansion of chi is it comes back to power. And Inelia talks about this in great depth, so we won't go into it. But for me, I've had to do a lot of processing around power, like being a powerful woman, or is unlimited power even possible? Like my human brain, quote unquote, has trouble like understanding it. Like, what's $500 trillion really look like? I just don't understand, you know? But then I feel into Gaia and I'm like, oh, okay, I think I get it.
Yeah.
But then also power over others, right? Power over others. And playing these games over the last however many thousands of years picked up a lot of programs and stuff. So it's like peeling off the layers of these low frequency programs as they relate to power, and then, you know, processing and looking at resistances and processing and man, but that's part of the work too.
Right.
But it doesn't always need to be like processing. There are actually a lot of cool fun ways to look at expanding our chi too.
True. Well, and it's cool because it's like we're learning how to have power, unlimited power in the light paradigm, you know? And that's totally different because like a lot of, at least for me, like my points of recollection and let's say like immediate programs of operating that I'm like accustomed to are going to be typically programs of the light dark paradigm, right? So it's where you said like that that power over others that comes up, you know? And then resistances to that and whatever else comes with that. So it's cool because in this dynamic we're like redefining that and we're re-exploring like what is power in the light paradigm, right? And there's another element to it around even just becoming more aware. And I know we've said this on this podcast so many times, right? Like being diligent, but you know, being aware of the moments where we're indulging, right? And we're indulging in low frequency, which is taking our power, right? When we indulge in low frequency, it's putting our power into the light dark paradigm and then fueling that. Right. In some way, we don't have to necessarily go into all the mechanics, but in some way that it's feeding that, right? It's feeding the beast, the low frequency. And so becoming aware of like when those moments of like drama or low frequency angers, aggressions, or something, reactions is probably the better word, comes out, and going into stress or worry or anxiety or fear, you know, sometimes it's actually just out of habit. It's just out of familiarity. That's what we know. So interesting, right?
Yeah, by becoming aware of these chicken scratches and indulgences, that's a huge first step, right? And then responding instead of reacting. I know for me, I've seen and felt literally when I engage in a low frequency indulgent, it literally sucks away and drains my power.
Yeah.
So for example, this was like, I don't know, a few months ago, I like told a little white lie. It's like this turn of phrase in English where it's just a small lie. It's not going to hurt anyone.
Oh, it's just, you know, it's to benefit this, that, and the other. It's okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine. But it's a lie, right? Which immediately I feel like a dissonance in my field. And then I can't even remember what it was about, but it was just a little white lie to like a friend or something. And then I immediately felt like my chi, my energy diminish.
Right.
And just that like, you know, dissonance inside me. And I'm like, oh my God, why am I doing this? You know? And it seems like such a quote unquote harmless thing, but it's not because it is feeding the beast. It's not being in integrity. And I could literally feel my chi diminish in my body.
Right.
And it's like, wow. That's like not a little white lie at all, you know? So, and then I looked at it, did some processing and whatever. But point is like, even just the smallest little acts can contribute to our chi.
Yeah.
Either by expanding it or diminishing it. And even words and dynamics and relationships. That's a huge part of it too.
It is. Yeah, I know, like, it's really, at least for me, I think something that's been really easy to give away my power in moments where it involves other people, right? Because, and what doesn't involve other people?
Right, so true.
Right? Like, oh, and this, like this dynamic in that relationship, this chicken scratch came up and that person always does this, something like that, right? Well, it's just like this other situation and then that time before and you look at it, and I love it. And Inelia will always like ask, well, who's common denominator here, right? Like, who's the common denominator? You go to the grocery store and somebody is rude to you, and then you go to the farmer's market and someone is cuts in front of you in line or whatever it is, right? Like, the whole story doesn't really matter how it plays out because the common denominator is you. Mm-hmm. It's us. We are the common denominator. So we're creating these opportunities for these stories to play out to reinforce those programs. So it's like the indulgence part comes in, catching that, noticing it, and start to question, right? Start to become aware of, this is coming up. Okay, so I can't blame anybody because the moment I'm blaming, I'm giving my power away.
Right.
And I'm not going to do that. So let's get real. Ash, what's going on? Oh, and we don't need to psychoanalyze, and we don't have to, because when I was 5, my sister said this to me.
I had a past life where,
yeah. Because it's like, it doesn't help us at all, but just recognizing the program. And then literally, and I can tell you, because I'm in process of it now, like, recognize the program, and it's like scratching the itch.
Yeah.
Like the chicken scratches, right?
Yeah.
Literally. It's like stopping that. Don't scratch it.
Yeah.
Just like when it comes up, okay, that's interesting. I see that and I'm feeling a little, okay, I'm going to let this like frustration, you're welcome here, allow it to expand in my field.
Yep.
And then now you got options to make choices.
Mm-hmm. Conscious choices. Yeah, it's so true. The giving away of power is definitely a chicken scratch.
And the opposite of expanding our power.
Yeah, literally. You're like, here's my power. Take it. Do what you want. Have fun.
Yeah.
And, if you do that consciously, I guess it's a choice. But 9 times out of 10, it's probably unconscious and filled with limitation programs. Mm-hmm. And, it's a learning, right? Like, we're learning, okay, when are we giving our power away and why? And, okay, maybe I can do something different next time. Mm-hmm. And, this is all part of it. But as we are in this bridge of the split, we're seeing that. We're seeing more and more what are conscious ways to make choices, empowering choices that support and feed the light.
Yeah.
I think that's what's really cool about expanding our power. It's like, why bother? Why take all this time and energy into like cleaning our stuff and getting more money or, working on our wealth lines or, whatever it is, even inhalation and clearing up programs around power. It's like, why? Well, and I know Inelia has said this before, but imagine how different would the world be with just 10 high-frequency billionaires on the planet.
Yep.
Just 10. Like, how different would it be?
Yeah.
We would do so much cool stuff.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Seriously.
And that's why there's this call to action from Inelia about doing this, because, we're it. It's us.
Right.
And we have work to do. We have to clear up our programs around power, around money, around chi, because to be frank, we have been conditioned to be disempowered and limited. And of course, we're in this game of limitation. It's not so much about that as it is the conscious ability to do, so that we can create really cool, amazing structures that we want to experience, right?
Yeah. For me, I think with the release of, so there's The Return, and then in that series, the second book is The Earth Files, and that just came out, so order it at ineliabenz.com. With the reading through the Earth Files, that was my first real, like, I'd say taste or glimpse or feeling into the human collective and the true potential, like the living our true and being our true potential and having that power. It's not even like it's necessary to talk about. It almost feels like, like when you're in that, it's like, it's irrelevant, like, to discuss, like, the amount of power I have, because it's just unlimited and it just is, whereas, like, we've been coming from that, like you said, we're on that, like, in the midst of this split. So power has been utilized and turned upside down in a way of power over others. So there's been programs of lack and debt and other things that have kind of, like, let's say, manipulated that, right, to low frequency means. So in it, it's just so cool to feel into and tap into the human collective in its natural state and unlimited and not and it's like, there's no power over others. There's just, like, you need a place to live. Here's a beautiful home that, like, these craftspeople created. You need clothes. There's clothes to wear that have been made with joy from the people who love doing that for the community and the collective. There's all of the resources, all the things are available and accessible to everybody, and there's no limit to it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like mind blowing. But tapping into and reading the book, you could really, like, get a sense for that energy and what that feels like and that state of existence. It's just, it's incredible.
It's another great way to tap into and feel unlimited power.
Yeah.
Yeah, so check out the Earth Files if you haven't, and start with The Return if you haven't read the first book yet. But such a great example of what life could and is when those limitations just aren't there. The negative limitations aren't there.
And to what we said before, there's no one to blame, right? We're limiting ourselves.
Yep.
So it's like, are we ready to drop our limitations? And let's do this.
Exactly.
Let's move on. Let's blow this popsicle stand. I don't know where that phrase ever came from, but it's a good one. Anyway, but, like, let's make, like, a banana and split. Let's, no, really though, like, it's time, it's now, and it's us. Yeah. Like, there's nobody else who's going to do it for us. And there's nobody limiting us except us.
Yep, exactly. And find tools that work for you. Like, obviously we're fans of the iBenz method, but if there are other tools out there that help you expand your chi and process your stuff, go for it, Like
share them with us. Yeah. We want to hear about it.
Exactly. One of the tools we've been exploring, both on Walk With Me Now, but in other groups as well, is using the method of Feng Shui to look at and clear some of our chi lines. So I'm not a Feng Shui expert. I won't go into the details. You can do your own research and truth it and see if it's a good fit for you. But it's just one of many tools where, let's say, you can amplify wealth in your home by doing certain practices.
Yeah.
And even just that is, like, such a fun and empowering way to think about chi and money in a new way, at least for me. Like, I never thought about how the home, like, literally my space, would affect my life. And it's really not that surprising, but going, even just exploring it a little bit and playing with it and just doing some of the practices around it, it's like, wow, yeah, this is cool. It's like focusing my intention to make, like, a little wealth corner in my home. And it feels programmed by the collective too, which is really cool and powerful. It's been a practice for thousands of years and all these things. Very popular in both the East and the West. And it's like, heck yeah, I want to ride that wave. That sounds great. So there's a lot of fun ways too that can come from expanding our chi.
Totally. And, even just the practice I found, like, again, I'm not an expert either on Feng Shui. I know little bits and just, research and books and things. But just the practice of, like, taking a Bagua map, right, which is such a core to Feng Shui, at least from my experience of it, and looking at, okay, this area of my home is missing. There's this corner is incomplete. So how do I complete that corner to allow that chi related into my life to flow, right? The practice of just focusing on it, doing research around it, having intention and awareness around it, and then actually doing it is awesome. It's like that in itself, I feel like completely, it's like that's the magic, I guess, for me at least. And I haven't done a lot of Feng Shui in my life, so I don't know what it looks like long term down the road, but at least right now, being active and doing that in my home, now when I look at the items or I look at that space that I activated, it's like instantly, like I'm reminded of the energy that I put into it. And then that brings it up into my life. And of course, like the more that we're embodying that, like the more it becomes our reality.
Exactly.
So like it's just such a fun process to explore.
Super cool. And that's it, right? Is that being proactive energy, especially when it comes to doing our work, not indulging in low frequency or expanding our wealth, or even just going out and having fun and playing in the woods or swimming in a lake. Like even that can be very empowering and bring us chi. And there's just so many ways to do it. But the point is like we got to get off our butts and do it, right? Because we have to build the new paradigm, because it's our experience. So let's create one that we want to enjoy together, that's full of inspiration and joy and beauty, and let's do this.
Yes, let's do it. And if it's new for you, to consider maybe yourself as the common denominator or limitations and why they might be serving you, do the course.
Yeah.
Right? What is that course called? The limitations, and how are they serving you?
Limitations. Why do we create them?
Thank you. So do that. That's a really great way to start, because that right there will give you your first like kind of foundational awareness into maybe some of the stories, or we talked about indulgences and things that come up and ways we limit our power.
Yep.
Right? And then from there, building upon that, I highly recommend doing the Wealth Lines course. And then, of course, so clearing your wealth lines, like we said, reading the Return and the Earth Files.
Yep.
So there you go. You got lots of homework.
Do it all right now.
to do, but we're increasing our power, so our ability to do is increasing as well, and it can be easy.
Yeah,
and fun.
And you're not
Enjoy
alone.
it.
You don't have to do it alone. It's actually a lot more fun doing it together. So
true.
Grab a study buddy, connect with us on iBenz Academy on Telegram, on our newsletter, and share with us. We'd love to hear from you about your practices, how you're expanding your chi, and let's do it together.
Yep. We got this.
Yay.
So our strength is your strength.
And your strength is our strength.
Woo!
We'll see you next time.
Bye.